This is a special episode of Tidbit Da Vinci brought to you commercial free, and it is a full hands-on look at the Tesla full self-driving beta. So before we begin, I want to take a quick moment and say thank you to all of our patrons on Patreon. If you want to see more videos like this and you want to be a rockstar supporter of the show, consider supporting us on Patreon. Or if you are interested in buying a Tesla car, Tesla solar, or a Powerwall, we would love it if you could use our link, because then maybe we'll get invited to future betas and other cool events and everything else. Also, a huge shout out to Tesla Raj, who was a great pleasure to meet. So if you haven't already, check out his YouTube channel with the link in the description. All right, so this is our little first look at the full self-driving beta. By the way, Raj, if you can do me a favor and email Elon Musk, I want this new UI. You think you make that happen?
Isn't it?
It really is.
I mean, look at this door. Watch it open.
What?
It's just. Oh wait, and watch this. See the window? Oh yeah. Even the back windows goes down.
Wow.
It's beautiful. It's absolutely a beautiful UI.
It is. So I'm not gonna get this then if I don't have FSD, right?
This is right now. This is just for FSD beta, but who knows? Maybe this might be a Christmas gift for the next Christmas release.
Yeah. It looks like they made that area a little bigger.
Yeah.
Interesting.
You'll see a lot of cool things as we go on a drive. What's changed and what's part of this FSD beta. Let's just go over here. And it's somebody's address. I have no idea, but we just go navigate. It's 1.2 miles away. Now, currently we're in a parking lot. Parking lots, it's not really accounted for. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drive towards the exit, and then I'm going to kick it on. Parking lots is give or take, right? There's a reverse summon that's coming, and so that that gives you the ability to auto park your car. But for right now, we're going to do that. And you'll see the UI. Right now, we've got a much wider space here and a space here. But when you initiate FSD, whoa, this is how it looks, right? Everything is vector based. So you'll see objects defined as squares. They're no more like the car shapes. That might be just done for right now, and they may put them in after, but you essentially see what the computer's seeing. Okay. So right now it's on.
And did you put the blinker on, or did
no,
it
did that automatically.
Look at that.
So I'm not doing anything right now. It's monitoring the cars. It's making the turn. So I'm going to keep my one hand over here because obviously it needs to feel the pressure of the hand.
Right.
Just the same way regular autopilot works. But now we're driving. You'll see the curb is defined by red. The
and it says
defined
stopping
by
in 400 feet. It didn't have the cameras detect that. So
exactly.
It knows that based on what, GPS?
Maps, GPS. So there's a lot of them. Like this stop sign on the opposite side. You can't see that. It's covered.
Right.
Now look at this. This is a three-way stop. No problems.
Wow, it's bold too.
Yeah.
It doesn't like creep along.
Exactly.
It goes.
And it'll even tell you too. It'll say autopilot pausing for its turn. And so what it'll do is, we as humans, we look and we say, okay, that guy stopped first. He'll stop, then I'll go. Yeah, it lets you know the stop is coming. But here for stop signs, it lets like, hey, you go first. And then we'll go.
The sound of the past.
So you see the bike lanes being defined.
Yeah. It's pretty killer. Look how massive that just got.
Yeah. What you'll also notice too is that in FSD, look at how much real estate is taken up right now by FSD, because the thought process is, well, the car's driving. What do you need the map for, right? So we'll minimize the map. I think a lot of people are subjective to that choice. I know sometimes I do want to see where it's going next, because it's still beta. So I'm still like, testing out. I want to know, but you'll see. I've always feared this turn here because these curves are really big. So it's like, oh, my rims. But it doesn't hit the curb at all. It always knows where the curb is, which has been very impressive to me. You see the light up ahead. You see the median, the turning.
What I love about this too is even in the year that I've had my car with updates, you can see what they're doing. Like for example, I think very shortly after I got my car, I was driving on garbage day, and you can see the garbage cans on the side of the road, and it's like, wow, you know what that is, and you're actually and labeling it correctly.
Yep.
So you can see how they're building up to this.
Oh, totally.
Were you surprised, by the way, when they announced this thing? Because I mean, I hadn't heard much about it, and suddenly it's like, hey, check out this full self-driving beta.
Yeah,
that
because
a few
I just
people
thought
have.
like, full self-driving. When I think of full self-driving, I think of like autonomy 5, right?
Yeah.
Which is like, oh, that's going to take a while to get there.
Uh-oh.
But
Just dropped something.
oh, yeah. Your blanket!
And look at that. Raj is free to help be a good Samaritan because his car is driving itself.
Yep.
Yeah, so level
So-
5 is what you kind of think, right?
Yeah. So this is, hopefully we'll have some, well, we got one more car, so you'll see it watch here to make the turn because it sees the other car coming. It'll stop. It'll make it cautiously, right? So now there's no cars coming. It's going to go, and it's observing, and it makes that turn.
Really? Yeah. Good lane
Yeah.
navigation, too.
Now we're going into a residential street. So you'll see some residential footage here. You've got cars that should be parked on the side of the road. Yeah, here's a car that's coming up ahead that's parked on the side of the road, how it handles that. And if you remember, currently today on autopilot, it cannot do residential roads at all. Like, you might be able to get it to work if there's lane markings, but it cannot do it because of the curb.
Yeah. I almost don't believe you don't have your phone.
Yeah, that's why I try to bring it in to show you that I'm not doing anything.
I can assure you he was not driving.
So the key here is obviously if I hit the brake, the car will stop. It'll turn off all of the automation features. You'll see there's a kid on the bike.
Yeah.
If something were to happen, here's a speed bump, so you'll see it slow down from the speed bump. Watch, it's 25
Is there a
now.
visualization for it?
It's very light. It's right there. You can see these little dots.
Oh, yeah.
But it slows down to 15 for the speed bumps. If something were to happen that's not right, I've got a camera button here. A lot of people ask what that is. That's a submit feedback. It captures the logs, gets sent to Tesla. So that's part of the responsibilities of being an FSD beta tester, that it is a beta software. It's an early release software. Very few people have it, and so your job is to test it out. Look at this tight turn. Kept you perfectly in the lane.
And it had a kind of a wide curve over there.
And we're going to our destination, which is this house at 35418. And it should bring us straight to the door. I think that should be this house right here.
Will it park?
Yep. It will not.
Okay, so it brought you kind of where you put the pin.
This is the house right here. 35418.
Holy smokes, man.
So let's try something else. I'm gonna go over here. We'll turn this car around. We'll find another destination to go to and see what other stuff we can have it do.
How does it do with freeways and higher speed driving?
Perfectly fine. So you have autopilot in your car, so you use it on the freeway. It pretty much works exactly the same. I don't notice any really advantages. I think because they perfected that, there's no reason to really,
Right.
There's probably minor stuff, but harder to notice that stuff.
You think this sort of stuff is actually more challenging?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
There's just so much going on, there's, you've got a lot. So let's see here. So, we can do this. This gets you on kind of a major road, unless you want to do some more.
That sounds good.
Okay. So we're at a stop right here, right? And you've got residential and you've got the autopilot. So I take my foot off. Now, there are situations, so people ask, and this is one feedback that I have, is I don't necessarily feel comfortable at 25 in residential, so I always bring it down to 20. The default speed at residential is 25. So that's just my personal feedback. So I like it at 20. But the other thing is sometimes on occasion, you got to be wary of the people around you, because there's still normal drivers out there. And so they might get a little annoyed that you're taking a little bit more time. You're doing things a little bit more cautiously and slowly. So on some occasions.
Oh, wow, because it couldn't see past that truck.
Exactly, it peeked out. I didn't catch to see if it said it, but sometimes it says, pulling forward to see. That was in the most recent update.
That is
giving feedback, which is incredible.
So we took that is really remarkable. We took a right turn, and the truck parked on the road was actually blocking our view to see if we could actually pull out safely. So it kind of crept forward, took a look, actually could see past that truck, and then went forward. That's amazing.
Yeah, some of the things that it does is very human-like, and you're like, well, okay.
every time I feel it, I kind of think you're taking over, actually. Like when I see it do that, like,
no,
pop out and peak.
what I've started to do is let people know. So, so here it stopped a little bit earlier than I'd like.
I think it's because of this red light back here.
Which one?
The red light back here. It's way back here.
Yeah, and so it saw the green. It's still...
Now it's referring to this green.
So see, look, it's waiting for cross traffic because this is a blind left.
Yes.
So now it should go. It should go. It's a little slow. So what I'll do is I'll usually just give it a little acceleration to help it sometimes.
It was just kind of cautious of the whole thing.
Yeah. So because I don't want it to...
And it might be also because of the glare. The sun is low in the sky there.
Yeah.
Got it.
So that one I gave it a little bit of a push, and in some cases you do, right? It is studying, and you think about like how much this computer is processing at a time. It's
no kidding.
Insane.
It's pretty remarkable. So when would you use that button, by the way?
Actually, that was a good
example,
to use it.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Typically, you can either hit the button, or if you disengage autopilot, it will capture it as well.
Okay. So you've had this now for a month? 2?
Man, I think it's been about a month now. Yeah. Yeah, about a month. And I mean, I've seen things change, like, you know, the way it handles people, the way that, so I had so school area, it reduced its speed.
Whoa.
Okay, that was weird. All right. You good? You good?
I feel like we need to get a driving school in progress.
Well, I do have a thing on back that says...
I love that.
I'm most probably not driving. What's funny is I got that before, and now you'll see this will update to 35, because that was the speed limit there. So now it changed. So it respected the school speed limit there, but it had a little wonkiness.
Yeah.
Now I'll go up to 40. Okay. Yeah, so everything from the lights to the turning. I think the most impressive for me is watching it turn. Because like, I've never been in a car that turned for me. That's insane.
It chooses a really good trajectory.
Yeah.
You can even tell it's predicting it.
Yeah. I think the really big thing was
Very
mapping
smooth.
out the curbs, right? Is like, if you know the curbs, that's going to help a lot.
That's actually a decently difficult computer vision problem, because really what you're going off of is like the contrast from like shadow.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see the top of the curb is lit up well, but there's a shadow on that side.
Totally.
And the cameras, I've always said the cameras on these cars, they're not like 4K sensors. Like they're pretty middle grade in terms of quality. So what they are able to do is pretty remarkable.
Right. And even here too, I think, you know, Ryan was calling out before, is that the sun's beaming in the camera.
Yeah.
You know, I've had...
Now, can you see that?
Yeah,
Did it just change lane?
Yeah. In one of my videos, I was having trouble seeing.
Yeah.
Because the sun was beaming right in my eye, and yet it was handling it just fine. So that was interesting how it... So yeah, I mean, you know, I think the thing is like there's a lot of impressive things that we're seeing what this software is capable of, right? And how this is paving the way for the future. Is it perfect at this point? No, you know, it does make mistakes, and that's part of the process of this beta testing and understanding and learning and perfecting it. There's so many edge cases, and when you think about it, driving is insane, especially because we are the minority, right? The regular drivers are the majority, so you have to account for even them, because I've been put into situations because of somebody else driving rash, because they're like, I need to get there faster, so I'm going to speed by, or, you know, I had to change lanes at one spot, and I couldn't do it because the other guy was so hasty. He merged over to the right, and he's zipping by, and he blocked me from being able to change my lane, and I missed my turn, or autopilot missed its turn. Was it autopilot's fault, or was it because that guy's driving erratically?
But it behaved well, right? Did it reroute you and take you around? And...
I think I turned it off and then did it. So one thing that I have not seen it do right now is a U-turn. I don't see why not, because I've seen it do things that are pretty much a U-turn.
Yeah.
But it will not go and make a U-turn. At least I have not seen that happen.
Gotcha. So what are some of the things that like you were told not to try or places you shouldn't go in terms of testing this out?
There really isn't much restriction. Like nothing's stopping me other than having a family from taking a road trip across the country. I mean,
Right.
I would love to do that and just test it everywhere. But yeah, you'll see people just doing it everywhere. I think Dan from What's Inside just did it in Las Vegas. So that was a first. I'd not seen FSD handle Las Vegas yet.
You did it down.
I did it down Lombard Street in San Francisco.
Yeah, I saw that.
I think that when you start putting in, urban areas like San Francisco or large cities, it's going to be a lot more challenged because there's just so much going on. And, you've got double parked vehicles, people just crossing where they're not supposed to cross. So, I would expect that this would perform better rural than in urban. But, in San Francisco, it did decent.
You've taken it out there. Wow.
Yeah, so when I did Lombard, I did drive around a little bit in the city, and I think overall, right, when someone tells me beta software, my expectation is low, right? Like,
Whoa. Is that guy coming in?
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of the nightmare that is driving on a road.
Totally.
That guy was
he's probably not going to like that I brake there.
That guy's not even paying attention. He's like...
He's not happy about that brake, so I'm just going to apply my accelerator just to move us along. And he's probably going to zip by and be irritated, but
Oh, so I'm in software. So
Yeah.
releasing beta software to get feedback is like industry practice, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what's different is if we were like writing enterprise software for some company and B2B or B2C, and the users are using it and they have feedback for us, we would then think, okay, interesting, we'll take that feedback, we'll see what we can do with it.
Yep.
What you're doing is you're providing it data. Like these these neural networks are actually, you're feeding it information that it can then take and improve. And so all 20 of you guys that have this, every time you get an update, you're learning from all your aggregated knowledge and accumulated experience that the cars are
Totally.
seeing for the first time.
Yeah.
And that is what's incredible about Tesla's approach to this and their lead, just by having so many of these cars that's recording all this information. But Ryan, you're gonna do a video comparing Tesla's approach to self-driving versus Waymo, yeah?
Yeah. I hope to host a little debate with someone that has several runs with Waymo, and so we should be able to get Raj on there and just see kind of the different thoughts at this point in the race for autonomy.
So let's see, is this guy going to cross here? Let's see. So it sees him. Watch this. It sees him. It's not going to creep out. It's not going to do anything. But I'm like ready, just in case. And so now you'll see it's observing both sides. This is a tricky one. This is a tricky one. And so it's going to go.
Wow.
And I'm pretty sure it saw that car coming too. Yeah. And it made that turn. So, yes, things like that. I had an issue where, when you go to make a right turn, you go into the shoulder, right? So I had I talked about this, is that it wasn't making the right turn from the shoulder. It was actually making the right turn from the right turn lane. Now, for people driving behind me who were going straight, got irritated because they're like, dude, you're stopping and I just want to go straight. But is what we've been doing actually is that actually the right way to do it? Because then people were saying, well, that's the bike lane. You shouldn't be going into that lane. So it makes you think of things.
Where's our resident DMV expert?
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, these are these edge cases. And so I might think of something as like it not doing it right. The point is that I think over the last 3 updates, I've seen it get better. I've seen it get smarter. I see it learning. And it's not also about how it interacts with things, but it's also about the maps. The last update, we had a huge map update, and I could tell things of for example, this right turn right here. See, there's a right turn lane. It now merges over to that immediately when it's available, whereas before it was going into it too late.
Yeah.
And then you might have people already in there. So that one I did have to press the accelerator a little bit because I do have somebody behind me. I don't need him slamming into me. So you got to be cognizant of that kind of stuff. That I put it as this is a kid who just got their learner's permit.
Yeah, that's probably a pretty good analogy.
Yeah. And I think what I was saying before is that, beta, when I think beta, I think oh, this is going to be buggy. It's going to be all bad. For what I was expecting to what was delivered, I was blown away. Like, this does not feel beta. Some of the stuff that it's doing, I'm like, whoa, seriously? Like, you're able to do that? Wow. And then when it does make mistakes, I'm like, okay, I mean, it is beta, it's still learning, you know? But I don't feel, I would say that I don't feel like my life is in jeopardy. Like, this is your first time experiencing it.
Yeah.
I've been driving for a while. You can see how comfortable my leg is just like chilling.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like in the beginning, I was here. I was like ready. Now I could still move it pretty fast, but still, you know, like I know what times to be a little bit more cautious and what times to just be like, hey, I know it's got it. But how do you feel? Do you feel that your life is in danger being in an FSD beta car?
No, I think that's just having autopilot for a year.
Yeah.
'Cause the very first time, even my wife was like, are you sure about this? We were all freaked out. Now it just feels really commonplace. We trust our car.
Yeah.
And that is a great feeling.
Yeah.
It appears to generally take the more conservative approach.
Yes.
And be cautious. There's one exception there. When it took that left turn, it looked like it was little hasty out the gate there.
Yeah.
But largely, it seems to do the right thing.
Yeah, it's funny to see it when it's aggressive and then when it's more cautious. It's very picky and choosy. But what's funny is that, you know, coming from the autopilot world, like, it's necessarily not really as aggressive as we'd like it. Now, maybe we're more aggressive drivers, but it usually is not. Even it's set at Mad Max. But here I'm seeing like some turns. I'm like, whoa, you're pretty confident about that turn. Okay, sure, go ahead.
Look at the cones. It has it all figured out.
Yeah.
There's stuff going on.
And
there.
even when it like merges over, if somebody is like sticking out too far, there was one instance where a vehicle had like, you know, changed lanes, and so it was sticking out a little bit into our lane, and it kind of just nudged over and went around it. There's a lot of those, and what's funny is, you know, I try to have my camera on, but there's a lot of times I'm driving without my camera on, and I see things that just aren't captured, and you're like, oh man.
But you could do the dash cam thing, and you have that at least, right?
True, you could. I could start saving a lot of dash cam footage.
You should. You never know.
We all know how easy it is to sort through the dash cam footage later.
Oh, Lord. You know, the first time I turned on Sentry mode, I was like, oh, 2 events. What's going on? Let me take a look.
Yeah.
Now, I come back to like 12 events. Like, yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
12 is a good number.
At least we can view it on our screen right away.
True. What they should do now is some AI and say, here's a potential event. And otherwise, leave it alone. Like if someone walks by and they don't touch your car.
Like a person was there.
But enough footage has happened where a guy's keying your car doing something bad and have that distinguished.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Here's the thing. When you bought your Tesla, what you really did is, you know, those really brilliant people over there are going to have that soon.
Yep.
And maybe in 6 months, they'll have that where it'll be, hey, there were 12 events, one suspected
Oh, yeah.
problem. And then you open that one thing and they go, holy crap, look at that.
And
someone's keying my car.
Even when you think about this, like, sure, this is a unique software that's only available to, you know, 20 people at this time of recording, but how many Teslas are on the road today where it's just feeding data to the machine, the monster that it is, and that machine is just sucking it all in, you know, translating it, machine learning, like identifying what objects are, is what's also driving behind this as well. So, you know, like there's a lot in there that I think a lot of people don't understand, is that, like, we're all feeding this, and that's the primary way for this system to get better and learn, is all in this machine learning. And the only way to do that is having cars on the road. You cannot just sit behind a computer and program this.
I agree. And this actually gets to one thing I've said several times on my channel, which is, if you bought a Tesla early on, you are literally doing the work of aggregating data.
Yep.
And what they should do is give you a break on the full self-driving. And instead, you know, it doesn't appear that way. You know, they just keep on checking up the prices. And maybe this is me and my sour grapes because I haven't bought it yet. You have. You're good. But yeah, this is groundbreaking stuff, and there's really not much in the way of competition for it. So I think they're entitled to price it as they see fit. But I love seeing that there's real progress happening.
Yeah.
Elon mentioned with the rewrite and kind of going back to the basics. One of the reasons was that when they classify things, they were previously taking like a screen capture. So the problem with that, these cameras are not the highest resolution. You've got motion blur. Mm-hmm. It could be nighttime. Maybe the aperture's open bigger. The shutter speed's a little slower. So as a result, those pictures could be pretty blurry. Mm-hmm. And one of the things they found is, just instead by making like a 2 or 3 second video clip, you have enough data there that people can say, yeah, that's a bicycle, that's a car, that's a bicycle towing a car towing a bicycle, and have the sort of fidelity to make those decisions. But seeing this and watching the visualization, which is amazing, by the way, I'm so glad they made that bigger.
Yeah.
You can see all that kind of playing in. Look at that. It tracks it
everything.
all pretty well.
Even that guy who's starting to cross the road over there.
That was a little blue.
Yeah.
There he is. Oh my goodness, this would scare me right here.
Yeah.
Seeing curb and a car, and it did all that.
Yeah, it did all that. I'm just always ready to like kind of pull it left, but I don't think I've ever run into an instance, this is shocking, from beta 1, from the first time it was released and I got it, left turns and right turns have never been a problem. And that's, to me, I feel like that's a tricky part, especially when you have like two cars making a left. So it's seeing that and it's accounting for it. So I have noticed that aggressive lane changes where you're like, wow, I would have sped up and taken it, but
is that a California mode? You can have, you know.
That's where I feel like, okay, Mad Max is definitely happening.
By the way, so you mentioned beta 1. What has been the update frequency been like with the beta?
I feel like it's been about like every 2 weeks. So I know that one is expected this week, and that's supposed to be a major one. The one that comes out this week, depending on the data that comes from that, will dictate whether more people get invited to the FSD beta. That's not me, that's Elon saying that.
Got it.
So we'll see. We'll see what kind of huge leaps and bounds comes on this next release this week. I actually didn't even notice that this is a no turn on red. Next time I come back here, I'll have to see if I'm the only car, if it actually makes a turn after pause. And he just broke the rules.
He just did, yeah?
Yeah. So now...
It gets even more complicated because sometimes they'll just turn green.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's no turn on red from these hours.
Yeah,
right?
Look at the size of that curve. That always freaks me out because I'm like, don't hit it. But
there you go.
Yeah. And I know what it's like to be in the passenger seat because my initial was in the passenger seat. So it's hard to believe that, like, you're really not doing anything? Like, I'm really not doing anything.
Yeah, and at these lower speeds, I'm not really, like, thinking about, like, our safety. It's more about, like, oh, you're going to curb rash something or something.
Exactly.
But we just drove 8 miles, something like that?
Yeah.
We just drove 8 miles, and I think you intervened a couple of times, it looks like. But largely, it did all that by itself. Stopping at stop signs. I love, it tells you, like, stopping at 800 feet around a bend. You can't even, you wouldn't even know that. It should come up here in a second. There it is.
Yeah.
It can't even, it has a little clue here, but
yeah, you can't see that stop sign. And it starts to slow down. Look, you can't see it. And it's already slowing down. It knows it's there.
Wow. This is pretty incredible.
Yeah. This definitely shows you that this is a giant leap. I mean, this is a huge, huge leap.
So my reaction hasn't been too crazy, and the reason why is before we met here today, we binged 3 or 4 Tesla Raj's videos. So I kind of knew what to expect, but I will say if I hadn't watched your videos, I just got in the car and saw this. Look at that. Right. The marker showed up and it moved over.
So the previous software update, when I needed to go straight, it actually went in this lane, and I had to correct it.
Really?
Submitted the feedback. Now look, it does it perfectly fine. When I need to go straight, it stays on that lane. Waited its turn.
Oh, that
making the turn.
Proper right stop.
So obviously here is a little bit tricky. I don't think it's going to be able to do this, but I'll leave it on until. But technically, we're back to where we began.
We're back.
Oh, because this is the destination.
Oh, we're there.
There.
Got it.
And there it is.
Have you had any experience with rain? I know you're a Californian, so you might not know what that is, but it's when water falls out of the sky. I hear it's a thing.
I hear it's a thing too, but not yet. There was a little bit of rain, but it wasn't enough to like really do some solid testing.
Gotcha. Well, keep me updated. Maybe we'll check this out again sometime.
Yeah, for sure.
But I will say, like, first, reaction, having been in a car with the beta, it is remarkable. And I can't wait to see, like, what comes next or what emerges from all this. Who knows? Maybe I'll have to go buy the full self-driving.
There you go.
Try to convince my wife of it. Raj, thank you so much, man. That was an absolute pleasure.
Absolutely.
We'll have to come back on sometime.
For sure.
Dude, absolutely blessed. That was great.